This video is for Senator Cory Booker and any other Democratic leadership in the House and the Senate. Senator Booker, this morning you said this.
We're in the car talking about last night's speech, and it is just not normal that you see colleagues standing up and applauding Trump's lies when they know they're lies, applauding his attacks on legislation like the Chips and Science Act that they voted for, applauding the outrageousness that I know they know of a president who is threatening, like a dictator like Putin, threatening places like Panama and Greenland in the most menacing way. Last night was not normal, and we shouldn't normalize it. Last night was offensive, and not a president that tried to bring us all to higher ground, a president that got into petty name-calling and demeaning and degrading behavior. And so again, I say over and over again, in the light of that, in the face of that, then we can't do the normal course of action either. We have to find ways to step up, to stand up, to speak up, and not let this happen. Because it's not just his rhetoric, it's not just his lies, it's what he intends to do to vital American institutions that people rely on, like Medicaid. This is all a lot of bluster as they are planning a bill that will take billions of dollars away from health care for our children, for our senior citizens, for disabled, and that's just the beginning when it comes to the things they're talking about openly about doing to Social Security and more. We can't normalize this.
So you said three things there in particular that I would like to focus on that I have concerns about. You said that it was not normal to see your Republican colleagues standing up and cheering for a would-be dictator, cheering to see the dismantling of legislation that they voted for. Standing up and cheering for a regime that is causing the suffering and deaths of people around the world and especially Americans here at home. But Senator, these are the folks, your Republican colleagues are the folks that Democratic leadership is telling us are essentially good people. They're good people. My congresswomen and my senators have said this as well, that those folks are good people. They're just being threatened. Their lives, the lives of their family members are supposedly being threatened by Donald Trump. So they're afraid. They're afraid to vote on the side of the Constitution, on the side of the American people, on the side of what is ethically right and what is required of them. Instead, they are buckling and they are falling in line and they are voting with Trump's agenda. So in one breath, Democratic leadership is saying, hey, constituents, we are pinning all of our hopes on flipping 3 Republicans to vote with us, to vote on the side of the Constitution, to vote for the well-being of their constituents. And we need you to keep up the pressure and encourage them to stand up and do the right thing. But in the next breath, you say, this is not normal. They are standing up, vigorously cheering for a fascist dictator and the horrible things he wants to do to the American people. So which is it? Are they good people or not? Why is it that good people would be standing up and cheering for this? By the way, I don't think anybody who would co-sign the deaths of American citizens because they are afraid to stand up to a bully who is threatening them, I don't think any of those people are good people. I believe that's what you call cowardice. Those people are cowards. Like if Donald Trump is really threatening them, then why aren't they all recording it, putting it together in a compilation and releasing it to the press? I mean, do you really think if any one of them flips and votes for your budget bill that we are going to have a real night of long knives and that those congressmen are going to end up the next day? You think that's what's going to happen? Do they think that's what's going to happen? So the second thing that you said that what is happening is not normal. And so we cannot take the normal course of action. Yes, this is what the American people, this is what your constituents have been screaming at you nonstop for 6 weeks minimum or since the election, that this is not business as usual. This is a fascist takeover and you cannot lean into decorum and what has been done in the past. That is not going to work here. That Democratic leadership is using tactics that are 30 years out of date. So I am glad to see that you are waking up to the reality that what you all have done so far is insufficient in every way, shape, and form. But what's concerning to me is Democratic leadership like Hakeem Jeffries are still talking about business as usual. He is still talking and acting as if this were a regular back and forth across the aisle with circa 1990s Republicans. There are no John McCains over there, buddy. So once again, we have no unified front from Democratic leadership. We have no cohesive messaging. We are hearing a complete jumble of contradictory statements. You are saying that this is not normal and your normal strategies are not going to work and you have to do something exceptional. And yet here in his remarks, Congressman Jeffries concentrated on how Democrats plan to retake the House in 2026. There's not going to be free and fair elections in 2026 at this rate. This SAVE Act is going to take away the right to vote from 21 million Americans, mostly women. It's a 5-alarm fire with the house burning down around him, and Jeffries is saying, can somebody help me program my VCR? We don't have until 2026. It will already take decades, probably the rest of my lifetime, to fix what Trump has done in 6 weeks. Acting like voters will just be fed up enough to vote for the other guy in the midterms is a terrible, terrible strategy. Democrats provide no vision for the American people. It's simply, we aren't the Republicans. We aren't as ghastly as they are. Vote for us in the midterms. In fact, Jeffrey said Democrats are reaching toward the center while Trump will swing harder right. Cool, let's just move that Overton window along with them. Where is y'all's cohesive vision for the American people? Where is the compelling narrative that is going to rally people together and get them to vote for Democrats? Trump has been masterful in putting forth his myth, his narrative that he's going to make America great again. I don't care how true or untrue that is. The people need something to rally behind. They need a vision. And they need something to be done right now. Your constituents are begging y'all to do something now and telling you over and over and over again, waiting for the midterms is a terrible plan. Acting like you're going to sit back and just let Republicans inflict mass suffering, death on the American people, destroy our national forests, boot our seniors in nursing homes and memory care out on the street because they're no longer being covered by Medicaid. Halt NIH funding for our most vulnerable children with rare diseases and watch them die in those 2 years between now and the midterms. Please stop telling us that that is your plan. I am glad to see that you are finally understanding what we have been saying for weeks and weeks and weeks, which is what y'all are doing is not enough. Your tactics are terrible. But I am still seeing your leadership in the House and the Senate. I am still seeing those establishment Democrats playing games decades out of date. They are playing by a rule book that the Republicans have already obliterated. We are not in a functional democracy right now. We are in an authoritarian dictatorship. Please stop acting like your Republican colleagues in the House and the Senate are essentially good guys. They are fascists. They are fascists. They are slobbering, drooling over Trump's plan. They think it will consolidate their wealth and power, and it is inflicting maximum suffering on the American people. We are watching decades and decades of progress being undone in days. Mostly, well, by Trump, but also mostly by unelected ketamine addict Elon Musk. And y'all are just letting it happen. You're hoping that the people will be fed up in 2 years, and you're hoping that the courts will stop some of this stuff eventually. People are already dying. People are dying here and they're dying abroad. So then the third thing that you mentioned is you talked about the budget bill and the fact that $880 billion is going to be cut from Medicaid in order to give billionaires a tax break for the next decade, while we also add $4.3 trillion to the debt. 40% of America's children are on Medicaid at any given point in time. 41% of pregnant women in the United States use Medicaid. In most states, at least 60% of our elders in memory care in nursing homes are there because Medicaid is paying for it. Where is your messaging? Why are y'all not out in front of this every day, outraged? Y'all need to be having intense messaging on social media, in front of the press. Where are your clapbacks? Where are your effective, common talking points that Democrats can use to stay on message and to push back against this? Last night showed the American people how disjointed the Democratic Party is, how there is no unity. It makes the leadership look incredibly weak. Those people who stood up and walked out last night, in the minds of the American people, those are the leaders of the Democratic Party. Those are the ones who understand the nature of the problem. Those are the ones who are rising up and showing that they are going to do what needs to be done. They understand the assignment. It sounds in your video like you are beginning to understand the assignment. Y'all are weeks behind schedule already. You've got to up your social media game. Maybe you should hire the Kamala HQ folks. Like, I don't understand what the other side is doing is deeply unpopular. It's very bad for the American people, and y'all are failing at messaging on that point. This should be a slam dunk win for y'all. Where is your unifying vision? Where is your unified pushback? Get with the program.